everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Chuck and Ruck Show. I'm your host. I am the Ruck. And to my left is my ever loving, is my ever boy, the partner, Chuck. Chuck, what's going on, brother?
Yo, what's good? What's happening with you, man?
All right, what's going on with you? I'm sitting high and mighty today. I finally got my throne of thrones, as you can see here. So I'm
Yeah,
sitting,
I see you.
mm-hmm, sitting high and mighty. Today as we continue our ever journey for the beginning of our season, we go down to the NFC North, or as some like to say, Aaron Rodgers Aaron Rodgers territory. The one as he likes to say he owns the ones we say he owns basically.
King of the North.
Yes, Kings of the North basically. Um, will that possibly change this year? We shall see, but let's get into it though, shall we? Let's start off with the weakest of the week, in my opinion, with the Chicago Bears. The Bears last year, as you know, have been well, they've been relatively awful these last few years. They one of the if there anything good happened to them, they finally got rid of the eyesore and the everything sore and Matt Nagy. Thank goodness. Um, they had begun to do and finally in the hire of Matt Eberflus, the former defensive coordinator of the Indianapolis Colts. Their quarterback regime will begin anew in Justin Fields, although I hate to say it, his season did not start relatively well, I will say, in his first preseason game the other nights. But he does have relatively good weapons around him. He has Daryl Mooney, which I will say is pretty good. But I still have questions about his offensive line. His offensive line not that strong, and he did lose some pieces on his defensive side of the ball. So there's not really much to say about the Bears this year, Chuck. I think it's safe to say this is a rebuilding year for them this year, Chuck. Don't no not really nothing much. Probably a 5 win team for them, maybe six, but potential lottery team for them could possibly be a top five pick this year.
I would definitely agree. I think the Bears, this is a rebuilding year. Still got Justin Fields heading into his second year, but he's like you mentioned, the coach, he's going to be starting learning a new offense. So you can't really expect too much from Chicago this year. I did like the pickup of Blossom Game, the fullback from the Tennessee Titans. You might know him because he blocked for Travis Henry for all that time. Derrick Henry, excuse me. He blocked for Derrick Henry, so he's one of the best. They also picked up Byron Pringle, another good receiver. I like him. They did lose Khalil Mack, but he was injured last year a lot. So, but on the positive side, the Bears, they had a really, really good draft. They picked up possibly three potential starters and Kyler Gordon from Washington. This guy, he has never allowed a touchdown on him in his entire collegiate career. They picked up Jaquan Brisker from Penn State, the safety, and Jones from Tennessee. This guy, he's a monster with yards after the catch. So they're definitely working on something in Chicago, but this year I don't see them being, too competitive. But I'm like you. I'm going maybe four, maybe 5 wins if they're lucky, maybe 5-11.
Biggest thing for them that they'll definitely need going into next year is offensive line help. Hopefully, the one guy that they turn to will be a big will be a big game for them. Will be Tevin Jenkins, the second rounder that they drafted last year. Hopefully, he'll be what they had hoped for. out of from his rookie year, but he missed most of it, if not all of last year, all of his rookie year because of injuries. So hopefully Jenkins can be the guy that could be a miracle worker for them, basically, because they needed one of the biggest weaknesses was their offensive line. Was their offensive line. If you remember what happened to Justin Fields in his first start against the Browns, in that horrific start, he got sacked 9 times in his debut. No quarterback can really survive in that game. No quarterback can survive getting sacked 9 times. And yeah. So hopefully he can sit here and he can hopefully Mr. Jenkins can come back and get him some form of protection and get some more offensive line help as his career gets along, because definitely gonna need it. Justin Fields has talent. He has a great arm. He's accurate, and he's like I said, he's athletic as all get out. But all the athleticism is enough, and you can't have nobody to protect you in front. Moving right along, we go into the Minnesota Vikings, who was interesting enough. Who was a very interesting team in their own right. Who I who some I thought could give the Kings of the North and Green Bay a run for their money as far as division goes, but I guess injuries and a certain someone who likes that just just couldn't bear it enough. But Minnesota comes in pretty much. We know their rap sheet. You got Kirk Cousins who resigned his contract this past off season. Dalvin Cook is one of the top 5 running backs in football. You got a top 5 wide receiver in Justin Jefferson, who, by the way, kudos to Minnesota and for making that trade happen with Buffalo, which rarely you ever see a trade work out that way. You traded Stephon Diggs, and then you end up getting Justin Jefferson in that draft pick, and both of them work out, and both of them end up working out. Rarely you ever see that, but kudos to them for that. So Adam Thielen, who's you could tell who's on the final legs of his NFL career, but Minnesota still has strong pieces. You still got Danielle Hunter. You still got Harrison Smith on the defensive side of the ball. Minnesota still has what it takes to potentially make a good wild card run in the NFC. It's enough to win the Super Bowl, perhaps, probably not, but definitely can still make the wild card. Chuck, could you potentially see Minnesota make a dark horse NFC run?
Yeah, I think Minnesota is very talented. I think they definitely should have a chance to make a wild card team this upcoming season. I also like what they did in the draft and drafting Booth out of Clemson. Very good cornerback. They also signed Jordan Hicks, the linebacker, and Zadarius Smith. So
That's the
I
biggest thing they did, by the way.
oh yeah, I like the direction Minnesota's headed. I know they have a new coach this year, but we're definitely gonna see, you know, what they can do if they can truly compete with Green Bay. I think I think it's a lot closer than people are, saying because of their additions. And I know we're gonna get to Green Bay, but Green Bay's losses, I can definitely see Minnesota at least making a wild card and possibly competing for the division. But right now, I got them going 10-7.
I think 10-7 could possibly be a rightful place for them. Could maybe be 11-6, depending on a few things. But Ken O'Connell is an interesting is the X factor for them as their head coach. He is an interesting factor for them. Kirk Cousins is also another thing. Like, you just don't know what you're gonna get out of Kirk Cousins. He's on some days he can go out there and give you he can go out there and give you an amazing day, but then there are also some days you just wonder, like, why is he also still in the league as well? But it's not really in regular season. It's postseason with Kirk Cousins. When it comes to postseason play, Kirk Cousins has not been the guy for you. He's just not been it. But the way Minnesota has loaded up, the biggest thing for them, they got Zadarius Smith. That was a big time pickup, in my opinion, for them. And I think that's going to be, and I think that's going to be a big factor for them this year. And also, Dalvin Cook healthy once again. That's going to be huge as well.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
that's going to be huge for them. They won't win the division obviously because we know who owns that division. He stated that. He clearly stated that last year, but they'll definitely take the wild card. Could they potentially make a run? It's quite possible, but we'll see what happens with them. We'll see what happens with Minnesota, but I would not be surprised if they could potentially make a run in the NFC. Now, now just so you know, I'm what I'm about to say next. Do not sit here and call for help for me. I'm not crazy. I'm not going into crazy pills or anything like that. I do not need psychiatric help. I do not need to go to no mental ward or anything like that. We're gonna move on to the Detroit Lions. And obviously that team is on Hard Knocks and everything. And yes, this is the Detroit Lions, but the team had a rough year last year, but it's a new coach, Dan Campbell. Chuck, I'm gonna tell you this right now. I like the Detroit Lions. I like that team a whole freaking lot. I
Yeah,
like I like the head coach Dan Campbell. He may have issues here and there with he may have issues here and there with X's and O's, but I think he's going to get better at that. I like that team's roster, talented wise, especially what they did, particularly in this offseason. They are loaded talent wise with DeAndre Swift at running back. They drafted Jameson Williams. They already had Amon St. Brown at wide receiver. Um, their offensive line did get improved. Defensively, you made improvements in every which way, especially drafted Aiden Hutchinson with their second pick, who showed in his first game he is going to be something fierce at edge rush. He's going to be something fierce at defensive end. Um, I am definitely not sitting up here saying that they are going to sit here and win that division. Definitely not saying that. They are nowhere near to win that division. I would not be surprised. As a matter of fact, I am calling this shot right now. By season's
uh-oh.
end, Detroit Lions will be the last team in the NFC playoffs as the wild card.
Yeah. It's
Am I crazy, Chuck?
no, I wouldn't call you crazy, but the only thing I see with the Lions, like you mentioned, they have a lot of talent on both sides of the ball. The only thing with the Lions, they have to have a lot of things go right. Starting with Goff. If Jared Goff, if he can pick up where he ended last season, because he ended the season with 11 touchdowns to only 2 picks. If he can pick up from there and play that way this season, I think Detroit can definitely, turn a lot of heads and make some noise in that division. I also like the signing of DJ Shark. If
Mm-hmm.
he can return back to his Pro Bowl self, which he had in 2019 with 73 catches, 8 touchdowns. If he can mimic that, that would definitely help Goff, reach his potential. Also, like Devin Funches, I know they trying to convert him to tight end this off season, but he's another talented player that if he can get on the road, um, the Detroit Lions could be doing something. Also like they re-signed Chris Harris, who had 7.5 sacks last season. To go along with Aiden Hutchinson. They should have a fierce pass rush.
He's in the mention for defensive rookie of the year, in my opinion. I would not be surprised if he makes defensive rookie of the year.
Yeah, yeah, and they like you mentioned, Jamison Williams from Alabama, very fast guy. I know he's coming off an injury, but once he gets right, I think their offense should be pretty high flying. I also like the safety, Joseph from Illinois. He's a player with a lot of upside, so he should be competing for a lot of playing time this year. But with all that being said, there's a lot of pressure on Jared Goff this year because quiet is kept. This could be it for him, honestly, because moving on from the Rams and coming to the Lions, and this may be his last stop. And with all that being said, I'm saying the Lions may go 9-8, 8-9.
I could see 9-8. I could definitely see 9-8 with the Detroit Lions this year. And we forgot another important piece for them too. And he's probably one of the better tight ends in football in TJ Hawkinson.
Yeah. Yep. You're right.
Um I think this is the final hurrah. This is the last hurrah for Jared Goff. If he doesn't be successful here, he won't be successful nowhere else. And I think he'll be either just a career backup somewhere or he'll just be out of the league altogether. So this is it. And Jared Goff did come on very, very strong at the end of the season. At the end of the season last year, like you said, 11-2, 11 touchdowns and 2 interceptions last year. Um, but the biggest thing about the Detroit Lions was the fact that how the team is just so glued together to Dan Campbell. Like that team will go through a brick wall for that guy. Like they are so emotionally in check with that guy, and rightfully so. Like you see, Dan Campbell seems like the guy. He just seems like all his rocker, but but it's funny. But the guy, you just love to play for that guy because it's just one thing I respect about Dan Campbell is that he's a no nonsense and he is a no nonsense. I don't give a shit mentality. He says what's on his heart. He's a non scripted, non politically correct a guy when it comes with what he says. He doesn't sit here and has to be the scripted, politically correct bullshit guy. And I respect the hell out of that. Like he says what's on his mind and no apologies afterward. Like I respect that when it comes to coaches and everything. Far too many times when it comes to coaches, GMs, or whoever, they give you they give you answers that have to be proper and all this other stuff. He never does that. He's just truthful and he's just himself. And I respect the hell out of that. Like I truly love that out of Dan Campbell. And I'm really pulling for that guy this year. I really am. Like I hate to say it, I'm a closet Lions fan this year. I am a closet Lions fan, and I'm really rooting. I am really rooting for that team this year. Like I said, are they going to win the division? No, I think they're a couple pieces. I think they're many pieces away from getting there. I don't think Goff is the guy for them to win the division, but I think they could definitely. I think they could definitely steal the last wild card position, and they could sit here and get in. But that's just about it. And I agree with you. I think 9-8 could be the record for them and get in the playoffs that way. But last but not least, let's get to the true kings of the North. The team that basically owns everybody else in that division, and that is the Green Bay Packers. Now, we know that they run that division. They've been doing that for God knows how long. Um, it won't be as easy as it has been in the past because, well, we know what the heck happened to them this offseason. It's not going to be as easy when you lose Devontae Adams. I mean, it's just that obvious. But I will say one thing. Perhaps losing Devontae Adams was probably the best freaking thing, in my opinion, that ever happened to Green Bay because it got them off their freaking tails and actually made them go after there and get them some more additional help at wide receiver for Aaron Rodgers. Because they actually got out there and got some depth for them at wide receiver for the first time since Brett Favre was there at quarterback. Like you got Christian Watson now at wide receiver. You got Armani Rogers there, and you actually found a diamond in the rough and Romeo Dobbs at wide receiver, who's come along and actually looked pretty damn good at wide receiver. Like this is for the first time, like I said, since freaking Brett Favre is there at QB. You actually have some depth and some talent there at wide receiver there. And then you got Tonyan coming back at tight end. You did lose to Darius Smith, which is going to be an issue there. You did lose to Darius Smith at edge rusher, but you still got a very strong secondary, in my opinion. You still got one of the better. You still got a top 5 cornerback in Jair Alexander. And like I said, you still got a strong secondary. You still got a bulldog running back in Aaron Jones, and you still got AJ Dillon at running back as well too. So obviously, Green Bay is still set up, and they're definitely gonna win that division. I mean, there is no doubt, there is no argument, no doubt about it. They're gonna win that division, but we have to sit here and make this. We have to put this out here because Chuck, we know this very well. Time is of the essence here, and time is running out for Green Bay here because Aaron Rodgers is on. Aaron Rodgers' mind is elsewhere at this point now when it comes to whatever the holy heck he's doing here, as far as now taking psychedelic, whatever the hell he's doing now, and just thinking other nonsense now and everything. So time is of the essence here when it comes to Green Bay here. Like, is this it here? Is this it now for Green Bay? Is this do or die now for Green Bay? Do they must win this? Do they must win this Super Bowl now, or is this it?
Well, Green Bay, I don't know if they're good enough to win the Super Bowl. Winning the division is definitely within reach. You mentioned wide receivers. They picked up Sammy Watkins. I like him. You know, he's not like he used to be. You know how he was one of the best in my opinion at one point. I believe he played with Buffalo. But
Started with Buffalo.
but yeah, I like their draft as well. You know, they picked up the big guys from Georgia, Quay Walker and Wyatt, the defensive tackle. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I think Green Bay is probably going to continue doing what they've been doing. You know, they still got Aaron Rodgers, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. But you know, the biggest question mark will be finding that number one guy that he can depend on. I know you know, with all these new weapons and stuff, he can spread it around, but when it's crunch time in the fourth quarter, what one guy can you go to and rely upon? I think that's going to be the biggest question. They probably will spend the first quarter of the year, the first 4 or 5 games trying to figure that out. But once they get that together, I think Green Bay, I could see them rolling to possibly 11, maybe 12 wins this year.
See, that's the beauty of embassy. You mentioned that point about finding the number one guy. I think that's the beauty of having depth at wide receiver for the first time in ages, because finding that number one guy that you can rely on is not going to be a problem because you're going to have so much talent that it's not going to be that much of an issue. Yes, you're 100% correct. You're going to need to find Mr. Reliable like Devontae Adams has been his whole career. But I think you having so much talent now for the first time that it's not going to be a do or die situation. Plus, the biggest thing is since the division is basically going to have to play catch up to you now, it's not gonna be that. Like I said, it's not a must do. It's not a desperate thing to do now. Like your team is so. You mentioned that they drafted Quay Walker and Devontae Wyatt. Like Devontae Wyatt was an unblockable monster back when he was in Georgia, and Quay Walker was an underrated linebacker at Georgia too. Like people don't realize this. That Georgia defense was crazy talented. People don't realize how talented that defense was at Georgia, and Quay Walker was the general of that defense. He was the guy that was in charge of all of that defense and everything. And now having him in the middle of Green Bay's defense, it's only going to make it better. Which, by the way, really wasn't that bad anyway. Now it gets better. Now they get better. Having him, Devontae Wyatt, and already added more to that secondary with Darnell Savage, Eric Stokes, freaking Jair Alexander. Like their defense just gets even better now. So like I said, finding that number one target is going to be important, but it's not going to be a must thing to do in the beginning of the season because you're going to be able to, like I said, the defense is going to be able to carry you, and then you're going to have so much talent at wide receiver that it's like you could be able to coast it through for the beginning of the season. Like by the time the season ends, you're going to win the division anyway, in my personal opinion. Um, I believe that they'll get to 12. I believe they'll get to probably 13, maybe even 14-3. I could see a 14-3 record for Green Bay this year. I could truly see it. Like on the fact because their defense is going to be able to flat out carry them by season's end. And I think Aaron Rodgers once again is going to sit here and have himself another strong year. He's going to be in the mention of MVP once again. But this is where we have to judge. This is what things will come with Green Bay. We don't judge Green Bay based off of regular season because we know what Green Bay could do in regular season. They can sit here, they get through there, they dominate, they win their game, they win the division, everything by regular season. We judge Green Bay based on what the hell they can do in postseason play when they get into the playoffs. Remember, everyone sat here and thought they were so high and mighty, and they thought they was the best damn team in the NFC. Hell, in the football last year, until San Francisco came to their house. And what did they do? Exactly. Exactly. So we can stop. So until Green Bay can sit here and get the kinks out of that, nothing else matters. And like I said, time is of the essence when it comes to Green Bay this year. Like this, I truly believe. My bad. I'm sorry. I just gotta get this out here real quick. Time is of the essence when it comes to Green Bay this year because I believe if it ain't this year, I believe we are looking at the final days of Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay playing quarterback. This is the final days. This is definitely the final days here.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going. I was going to ask you, do you see Aaron Rodgers ending his career in Green Bay? I know he's flirted with other possibilities of going other places, but what if you could pull out your crystal ball? What do you think he ends it in Green Bay?
Yeah, I can. I can see it in Green Bay. I don't think he'll go nowhere else. I just don't. I think I don't think nobody else can offer him anything to the likes of where he could go anywhere else. I just don't, and I don't see a purpose for him to go anywhere else. I just don't. Like I think he made his mark in Green Bay. He made his money in Green Bay, and I think he established his legacy and name there. So I just don't see a purpose or a reason for him to go anywhere else other than in Green Bay. So I think he'll sit here once it's all set. As a certain great one used to say, once all the dust is settled and all the smoke has cleared, Aaron Rodgers will sit here and will hang his boots up in Green Bay. And I personally think Not this year, but the season afterward. I think he will retire.
Yeah, I agree with that because I know recently I forgot who it was. Someone asked him, does he plan on playing as long as Tom Brady? He flat out said no.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, because there's no purpose to. There's no purpose to. Hell, I'm saying this flat out. This is Tom Brady's last year. This is Tom Brady's last year too. This is definitely Tom Brady's last year. Speaking of which, that's all the time that we have for today on the Chuck and Ruck Show. And we're going to go into the NFC South on the next edition of this podcast. Does Tom Brady and the Bucks go take the NFC South next year, this season? Or does the Saints go marching in one more time and take the NFC South? Or, and God help me, please. God help me, please.
Don't say it.
I have to ask. I have to ask. Does Baker take? Does Baker go into Carolina and take that damn division with the Panthers?
Wow, that would be something, man.
If that happens, Chuck, heads are going to roll here in Cleveland. Heads are going to roll here in the worst freaking way. But we will find out and we will break that sucker down on the next episode of the Chuck and Ruck. Until then, later, guys.